In order to show that a figure is a parallelogram, I need to use one of the 5 properties we've been talking about. And so in these diagrams, I have to take a look at what information they've given me and see what property I can match that up to. So my first example, what I'm noticing is they're giving me sides. And so usually where I start is I say, are these sides, are these angles, are they diagonals? Which seems easy to do, but you'd be surprised. So I notice that I'm given sides, and I see that the opposite sides, top and bottom, are the same thing. They're both 7. And the opposite sides that way are both 5. They're also the same thing. And so really, the property they're showing me is that opposite sides are congruent, which is one of our 5 properties of a parallelogram. So that's the reason that I can use to prove that this figure is a parallelogram. Next up, again, I want to start out by noticing what they're giving me. So this time they're giving me angles. So I would take a look at my angles properties, and there's 2 of them that we have. We have opposite angles are congruent is a property, and consecutive angles are supplementary. So what I would probably notice first is that I would tend to notice that those 2 angles are the same. And then those 2 angles are the same, which, because opposite angles are congruent, that's the property that I can use. That's what they're showing me. So opposite angles are congruent. I could also have proven this was a parallelogram by looking at consecutive angles. Angles that are next to each other need to add up to 180, and so I could check it and make sure that 115 plus 65 is 180, and I would need to do that all the way around. So add up this way, add up that way, add up that way, and I would see that all the way around consecutive angles are supplementary. So I could also use that to prove that this figure is a parallelogram. Last up, I'm asked to find the value of x that would make this 4-sided figure specifically a parallelogram. And so again, start with what they're showing you. This time they're showing me diagonals. And so I would take a look at my properties of parallelograms. I would see that the property that we have to make something a parallelogram is that diagonals need to bisect each other, meaning they need to cut each other into 2 equal pieces. And so what that will tell me is what equation to write. Because I know those 2 pieces need to be equal to each other, the equation I'm going to write is 5x minus 8 needs to be equal to 3x. So again, the property is what has told me to write that. So once I solve that equation, I'm going to subtract 5x from both sides. So I would get negative 8 is equal to negative 2x, and then divide both sides by negative 2, and find that x equals 4. If x was equal to 4, both of those diagonals would be the same length, and I could check that easily by plugging in 4 for x. So 3 times 4 gets me 12 for this piece over here. If I plug in 4 on this side, I get 5 times 4, which is 20, and then subtract 8, which is also going to give me a 12 for this side. So I can see that, yes, both diagonals are equal, both diagonals are bisected, meaning this figure will be a parallelogram.